Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Unlocked, the podcast that inspires you to create a successful, happy and positive life and to live the best version of you. And it's hosted by me, Ricky Locke. The more you learn, the more you earn. Now you may have heard of this quote, or you may not have, but it's a great quote from Warren Buffett. Now who is Warren Buffett, I hear you ask? Well, Warren Buffett is one of the most successful investors of all time, and he runs a pretty big company called Berkshire Hathaway. But is this really true? The more you learn, the more you earn. Well, we're going to take a deep dive into this because I'm a big fan of books, and I never really used to be a big fan of books. It was only until this year, actually. And I've certainly now started an amazing personal development journey from reading lots more books every single day. And I'm going to share with you a couple of things of why I think we should read more. But I'm going to shout out to my good pal and fellow masterminder, Jake Richings, because I think he will love this episode as well. He's a big fan of books as well. And I never used to be a big fan. I used to hate the idea of reading. The books look really nice on my shelf, but I just didn't really get the time to read them. I'm an impatient millennial, so of course I'm not going to read them. I'm going to look for an audiobook or look for a podcast to listen to it in half the time. But I've changed the way I look at books this year. And like the quote, the more you learn, the more you earn. It's basically all about personal development. Now, a CEO on average reads about 60 books a year, which is about 5 books a month. Which is a lot of books, right? And this is all to do with personal development, investing in yourself. And when you read, it can improve a lot of skills and a lot of your development. In fact, reading improves brain connectivity. It can increase your vocabulary and comprehension. It empowers you to empathize with other people. It can actually help with sleep readiness. Yeah, that's something that's definitely helped me out. It can reduce stress and lowers blood pressure, which is great for everyone. I certainly have high blood pressure, so I'll take anything that can lower my blood pressure and my heart rate. And obviously it can fight depression as well, but also it can inspire you. And I've certainly started a big transformation journey this year. As you know, I've been reading into Atomic Habits and Miracle Morning, and I wanted to make that commitment this year to read more books. Not just to brag to say that I've read a lot of books, it was to focus on my personal development. And I set myself a challenge this year to read 24 books, which is kind of almost that half point of what a CEO reads. And I wanted to make a challenge, which was reading 24 books. And if you divide that by a month, that's about 2 books a month. Now, at the time when I first started this, that sounded like a lot of books to read. Bearing in mind, I used to read about 0.5 of a book a year, right? But firstly, I want to share with you a great bit of inspiration from one of my heroes, Mr. Jim Rohn. The greatest gift you can give somebody is your own personal development. I used to say, if you will take care of me, I will take care of you. Now I say, I will take care of me for you if you will take care of you for me. This is about personal development, taking the time to invest in yourself. You've heard me say it on previous episodes, that cliche of being on an aeroplane and then the oxygen mask dropped down and they say put it on everybody else before you. No, of course they say put it on yourself before everybody else, because if you can't look after yourself, then you can't look after anyone else. And self-development just helps us to serve, to be more valuable, and it can just help drive success in your business and in your own self as well. And with my current circumstances this year, I just wanted to take that time to really focus on growing my business, growing myself as a person, as a human being, be a kinder person, learn from these wonderful CEOs and entrepreneurs in the world. And I decided to read, as you know, the challenge for 24 books. And as I record this right now, mid-April, I have read 15 books. Yes, 15 books. Now, I'm not saying this just to brag. I'm going to explain why I'm saying this to you. 15 books in 4 months works out about, 4 books a month, pretty much 3 to 4 books a month, right? Now that is pretty impressive. Bear in mind that I said I was going to do 24 books, which is 2 books a month. So I'm already beating my target. And I have seen a massive transformation in my own development, my own mindset, my own well-being, and also I'd probably say my success as well, because I'm just a bit more focused. I'm starting to think of things a little bit more differently, and I'm feeling inspired every single day by reading wonderful stories. But you might be thinking, Ricky, bloody hell, that's a lot of books, right? And that's crazy. But I've got a secret. I'm going to tell you how I've actually read that amount of books in a short space of time. And it all comes down to 3 things, really. And the first is called speed reading. So I recently took a course by a great guy called Jim Quick, who teaches you about speed reading and how to think quicker. And it was a really great course. I think if you Google Jim Quick, you might be able to take the course. And I won't explain all of the course because obviously a lot of that IP belongs to him, but I'm going to explain some things that you can find for yourself on Google or on YouTube. Speed reading is a very, very simple concept. It's been going around for many, many years, and it's just about reading books faster, but also it's about comprehension as well. So it's not just about speed reading, it's also about comprehending as well. And it was a 30-day course that you read every single day, and you practice different techniques, and you start to set yourself challenges and goals to read quick and quicker and quicker and quicker. And it was a really great concept. And I started off at 216 words per minute. And by the end of the 30 days, I was up to 600 words per minute. Now, on average, to give you an idea, that's about 1 page a minute. Originally, that was 216 words. And now 600 is about 3 pages roughly a minute. And that's based on a book with like 11 words per sentence. So you can kind of do the maths of how that kind of works. And that is fully comprehension as well. So I am obviously reading it and I'm obviously taking it in. But one of the things I want to share with you, because you can find this out on Google, is how to speed read. So one of the things that he teaches you is the idea of using a pacer. So if you go back to yourself at school, when you remember being a kid, we're taught to read slowly and clearly. So when you stood up in class, the teacher asks you to read and you read from that book nice and slowly and clearly. And if you think about it, that was the last time that I ever did a course on reading. And for most of us, that's all we did. We learned at school. We spoke slowly and clearly. So that's what we know. And that's why a lot of people don't like reading books, because the way we're taught at school is how you then keep on learning in an adult's world. But the way he teaches you is to use a visual pacer. So it could be a pencil, a ruler, your finger. Now, what happens is your brain can learn to read and pick up the information quicker rather than verbally saying it out loud. So if you used to put your finger right now on a piece of paper in your book and then move from left to right and your eyes will follow that, you will actually pick up the information quicker. And it's a simple concept. And I found from the first day of doing it, I think I went up from about 216 words per minute to about 300, I think, within 2 or 3 days, just by using a visual pacer. And that's comprehension as well. You are reading it, but what happens is that your brain can visually see the words quicker, and it can obviously comprehend that quicker. So it allows you to just kind of take in more information rather than reading it out loud. Okay. Now, the second thing as well that I learned from it was indenting. And indenting is a really popular thing with speed reading. Indenting is where you would take the first word and probably the last word and you miss it out. Now, I can probably hear what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, well, if you do that, you're not going to comprehend everything. Well, actually, this is where you're wrong. Yeah. So indenting is where obviously you take, if you was imagine on a book right now, that first word, imagine drawing a line at the end of that first word all the way down the page, and then go to the last word and put a line in front of that last word and all the way down the page. So it looks like you've probably got like 1, 2, 3 sections in your book. Now, if you were to start your pacing with your finger or ruler in the middle, what happens is your peripheral vision picks up that first word and that last word, which means you don't have to go from the start of the sentence to the end of the sentence. You can pace through the middle, and your brain and your eyes will pick up the left and the right, and you can move to that next line quicker. Blew my mind. Indenting in just a visual pacer. Now, there are, I think there's about another 5 or 6 techniques that he teaches you in that 30-day course. But that, oh my God, I was reading I think about 2 books within a week when I was doing this course. I've had a bit of time to drop off recently, but in that week, I think, of doing the course, I think I read about 2 books, which originally, as you know, my goal was about 2 books a month, and I was reading about a book in 2 weeks. So there you go. That's a really cool concept. If you want to take in more information, like we said, the more you learn, the more you earn. It's a great concept to invest into speed reading. If you go on YouTube, you can find some information as well, but I do highly recommend check out Jim Quick. He has some great techniques that will help you speed read. The second thing is about the compound effect, and the compound effect is a very, very simple idea of compound interest. So if you think about a bank account, compound interest, it doesn't feel like a lot. It might be like 0.0 something, 1 penny. Over time, though, that compounds and adds up to be a huge number. But it's like when you go on to a diet. So when you compound stuff, after a first week, you might lose £1 and people give up. But it's all about the consistency. Over about 4 months, if you lost £1 a week, you'd lose a lot of pounds. But because we lose just such a short amount of weight in that first week, we decide that we don't want to do it, and we give up. So compounding is about doing small little actions over time, adds up to big things. So if you do want to read more, you could just start out by reading 1 page a day of your book. If you've got a book that's 100 pages long, that's going to take you 100 days. So one of my things that I tied into Atomic Habits was I wanted to read 30 pages a day. And I'd set myself 30 minutes in the morning. As you know from previous episodes, the miracle morning, I've been waking up about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock and reading. And obviously with my speed now, I'm reading about 60 pages, give or take 1 or 2, 3 pages in that 30-minute time as well. Sorry, God, I'm just about to burp there. God, don't know what's going on there. But compounding it over time, so if I've got a book that is 300 pages long and I read for 30 minutes, which on average before I did Jim Quick's speed reading course was about 30 pages. If you do the maths, over 10 days, I'm going to read that book. And it seems more manageable doing something in smaller chunks, but adding up over time, it compounds. And that's pretty much what I did for the first 2 months of this year, January and February. I was reading a short amount of time, 30 pages, compounding it over and over, and then it would add up to big things. And I was reading about 2 books a month, and then obviously I really accelerated once I did the Jim Quick thing. But there you go, that's a really good tip, compound effect. If you're not a big fan of reading, but you really, really want to, just start small. Start with 10 pages or 10 minutes of reading, and then just do that every single day, and it will compound into a big, big number. And the third thing is just about habit. Yeah, it just comes down to habit. It's about practicing and creating consistency. Like I said, going on a diet, you got to stick to it. You got to keep going. You've just got to do it every day. The only reason that I've read 15 books is just because I've stuck to it every single day. You could use a habit tracker or a habit journal if you want to, but it's just about consistently sticking to it every single day. Like in my example, 30 pages or for 30 minutes a day, adding up over time would add up to about 300 pages over 10 days, which was 1 book. It's just a habit. Find the time that works best for you, whether it's at night time, whether it's in the daytime, or go back to one of my episodes for the Miracle Morning and you can find out the perfect time for you to wake up and really excel your personal development. So there you go. Not to brag, of course, but obviously 15 books is a pretty big achievement for me. I've never really read that amount of books. In the last 2 years, I've probably read 3 books. So to read 15 books in 4 months has dramatically increased my personal development. And in line with the quote of this, obviously, podcast episode, the more you learn, the more you earn. I have to agree. I'm going to say that I agree, because although I can't obviously connect everything to, yes, I read this book and therefore I earned £1,000. No, of course not. But what it has done has sharpened my focus. I've become more aware. My RAS has been fired up. So I've just been more aware and attentive to lots of situations, which I think in turn has led to being successful. So whether it's my mental well-being from great books like The Art of Being Brilliant, Shine, or it could be great books like based on the law of attraction, like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Just doing it over and over and over, adding that habit, adding that speed reading and compounding effect over time, I think has really helped with my transformation this year. So there you go. There's my short little episode. The more you learn, the more you earn. And there you go. Some great tips for you then to start reading and learn more so you can earn more. But there you go, just a short episode this week. I hope you enjoyed it. It's something a little bit different for you. And follow my advice. Start reading more. It will help you create more success in your life and unlock your full potential. Go for it. Let me know what you think. Try those speed reading tips or that compound effect. And if you read more books in a short space of time, then let me know. I'd love to know how you get on. As always, thank you for listening to the podcast. Don't forget to head over to Apple Podcasts or Podchaser, leave a rating, preferably 5 stars, that'd be fantastic, and leave a nice little review. If you've got 20 seconds spare, type a little message out to us, it'd be fantastic, and it'll get this podcast shared out to more people, and I would truly, truly appreciate it. Thanks for listening, and we'll join you next week for another episode of Unlocked. Goodbye.